Should I resubmit my EOI after being denied it? Or should I just forget about, or should I wait for another year or so? Hi everyone, my name is Joanna. I'm a registered migration agent and I'm specialized in the Australian Global Talent Independent Program called GTI. So GTI is really about to attract highly skilled talent in all sectors that to come and settle in Australia permanently. The visa itself can be granted very fast within 6 months, and in the last 1 year we have helped quite a lot of candidates from all around the world to get this permanent stream. Now some people might not decide to lodge their EOI themselves, and then they lodge through agents and their EOI being denied it. Obviously there's a case that one reason perhaps you don't meet the requirement. First of all, perhaps that policy has been changed and the requirement is much higher now, so you no longer meet requirement. So this section really talk about whether or not you should submit and then when you should submit. Now we will break down a few areas of who they are when they are time of submission. One is PhD, right? Now in our section I talk about three reasons why PhD graduate got denied for GTI program while their friends already got it. Now, so this session is about the further explanation of what would you do if you got denied it. Now, first question for PhD graduate, they should consider resubmission if things happen or circumstance change. This might include something like at the time of they lodge EOI, they had not finished their thesis, they had not got their degree certificate yet, and something happened. So this is degree graduation. Now things happen, right? Or you have something like at the time of submission, your thesis was not published. You did got a degree, but certificate, but thesis not published. So thesis, this is papers, okay? So papers gone then. And the paper become very good, got a lot of citations, which is impossible to get, right? To get a lot of citations in a very short amount of time. So we just say it, okay? Papers change. Or something about work, right? When the time you submit and then you didn't have job, obviously you were doing your PhD. But after submission, you got job offer. It can be you start job offer immediately now, or you've got actually, about job offer you're gonna start next year. So job about anything related. So in this circumstance, if there's something changed, it can be one of them, two of them, or three of them. If you have this circumstance change, you should consider resubmit your PhD. GTI EOI application. You should consider resubmit EOI if circumstance change in that. Or might be something else, I'm not sure. If you start your company, for instance, there might be a add up as well. Now, we also have people, they submit a PhD, EOI at the time, and they got start business, and they submit their EOI on that time on starting business. And do they need to resubmit? Okay, I consider this as various and complex. Now, we also view someone else, they submit EOI and got rejected, who was a PhD at the time, but they did not submit haven't got time to submit their thesis. But they started a startup, right? They got startup. Now, I'm sure the startup idea is really, really great. However, how valid is that startup gonna have a scalable business model? Okay, some of people, when they start this, it is called minimum viable product. You have a prototype, but you have not tested the market. Therefore, you haven't done, for instance, you haven't got one single sale or one single customers. You don't know the market needs you or not. It can be fantastic. Oh, even up to nowadays, the invention is actually really hard. Majority of people doing in startups is actually not about invention at all. It's about innovation, doing things differently, provide solution for new problems. So startup, if someone, for instance, we've got candidates who at the time they start a startup and then they submit, but they did not have their degree, or they did not submit thesis, which will take another year or so, and they ask, can I resubmit? And the only problem is none of this change, right? The only thing is none of this change, significantly change, and none of that changes. So how are you going to ask the immigration to make different decision if none of this changes, right? Even you can change some of them. For instance, you say your startup, I've got funding. Australian government doesn't want funding from personal, individual funding. They want institution type of funding. So you got funding, backup from government. You got one customer, something moving, something moving for this startup. Some of the idea look on the surface is awesome, but that's actually no market for that, and then you can't prove it. If you're working for that project for 6 months and you haven't proved how on earth you're gonna get customers, then you should not consider to relaunch again, because you won't get different outcome with the same materials. So my point here is you can really definitely resubmit if some of the circumstance change that make your case is significantly better than someone else. And I'm giving an example of this, and you can consider that, right? Another person, which is professionals, right? Another type of a professional. Professional really means someone who's been in the industry more than 10 years, or they have been in the industry. Now, what happens if they reject EOI, and then for some cases I actually come to aware that Australia government, the GTI program, for the same position, they same company, some people might get invited with the same position, some people might get rejected. I have to say that when I don't see that significant difference though between two candidates. However, they have special taste. They really can't assume, oh, these two people are identical, they should have the same result. No, they actually checking the materials you present to them. So that's no speculation. You cannot ask the department, so assume, my colleagues got the invitation, assume I'm doing same stuff, assume I should get it. Well, no. They check your colleagues' information. They say this colleague sounds great because they have these materials, supporting evidence. You're working the same kind of with the same position, but where's there are these supporting documents to say that you're outstanding, right? So this is actually not very uncommon to have a different result for colleagues working with the same company. However, when you should submit the EOI, for instance, the first one, if you've got promotion, right? Well, that's good. Promotion doesn't mean really about, people ask me about this question, or if you get pay rise, will that count? Pay rise will count if that pay rise is associated with high income, right? For instance, you did not meet high income throughout at the time, and now you do. But pay rise itself, it's not significant in terms of weighting the possibility. Why? Because it is assumption that everybody should, majority of these big companies, they should have pay rise between 3 to 5%, and that is normal. So pay rise doesn't stipulate that you actually have something that's greater responsibility, right? You understand that it doesn't really stipulate that you have greater responsibility. So promotion will definitely come with a pay rise. So promotion is ideal, means you have greater responsibility. Yeah, you climb up a ladder and you have new offer, or some promotion within company. Another one is you have a new offer, okay, and this offer seems to be a lot better than your current situation, and I think you should consider that. And when should you apply? At least you need to start it yet, right? You need to start it and get ready for your work, and what's the kind of things you can show if you just gonna start it, or you start it today. You can't. You have to wait until you have established yourself in a new organization, new position, and the evidence comes with that, showing you have greater responsibility. Don't flip over the job description assuming that you're taking greater responsibility. No, it is not your job description defines you. It's your achievement. Another way of potential, if you want to lodge, it is something that you have other achievement you are and did not receive in the past, right? Achievement, okay. For instance, you will nominate to become some awards you will nominate be, and then that's new achievement. A circumstance changes. So this offer can be, as mentioned here, this offer can be either in your own country or somewhere else. It doesn't matter as long as you actually climb up a ladder. So if you're a professional and these three applies to you, you might want to consider relodgement. Relodgement if you think that way to give you more potential to that. Or something like you start your company, right? You start a company, and well, you with a very short amount of time, you might not able to really gather enough information. But you can't just say I start a company, that is enough. No, you have to say I start a company. So what's going on with the company? I've got fundings. I've got customer thousands. You're gonna have something come out. So these areas I'm sharing here. It's really about examples. The way to obviously you want to make an assessment of when you launch your EOI, did you make mistakes and did you submit the right nominator? Did you check out whether you were able to amend it? Okay, but this kind of area is actually very. Let me say this. It's they don't pay a lot of weight on that one, but I would suggest if you have a significant change, circumstance change, that put yourself very ahead of someone else, then you should consider. So professional PhD, another one who's an entrepreneur, right? Now we have a good percentage of entrepreneurs got permanent visa, business owners, investors got permanent visa under GTI. So entrepreneur. No, so entrepreneurs, they are, for instance, in the past, they don't, their business is really about national, which is within their country, and they don't have a large contract from elsewhere. So then, therefore, they feel really hard to evidence of something called international recognition, because if you operate even in your whole country, you say, I'm a well-known brand. I don't know whether you're a well-known brand or not, because it's your country. You're gonna tell me. So you want in your own country. Therefore, you don't meet international recognition. Yeah. Okay. But what happens if you're an entrepreneur? Let's say you become international, well-known. You become well-known. Be recognized in the international stage. On the international stage, then you can consider that. Or something like entrepreneur. You receive massive funding, or your company being sold with a great amount of money. It can be like Slack, if you're co-founder of Slack. But if you're co-founder of Slack, you've already got GTI anyway. So something like that, or your company being acquired by someone who's a really huge amount, and then you start another company. So it will become a serious entrepreneur. Then they're gonna help you. Something else, like in the past you did not meet the requirement, maybe income, might be something now you come out with significant, strong evidence of you've been on the international stage and then become recognized that way. Now I break down this occupation 3 ways. If you got EOI submitted, and whether you should resubmit your EOI, and then when you should resubmit, and how can you actually submit. And then I break down these 3 areas: PhD graduate, professional, entrepreneur. Now, having said that, it's not limited here, right? I'm just giving example of 3 most used occupations, which 3 most frequently appeared in our files about this type of 3 people. But it's more than something else. It can be academia, right? If you're academia, you will reject EOI because of a salary issue. What happens after that? Or if you have breakthrough research, you can always consider relodgement, provided you understand the weakness in your own profile, right? What's your weakness in your profile? Was it anything about international? Is that something about income? Is it about recognition? Is it about achievement? And then if this weakness in the past EOI, you're able to overcome with strong evidence, with a very strong evidence, that there is a possibility they will consider it. We actually help quite a few candidates to overturn the skill set. Some of them with it was not necessarily massive, but we were really able to tackle that issue in a very short amount of time. Thank you very much for watching. Today I just explained to you when would you resubmit your EOI if your previous one was denied. And I encourage you to really think thoroughly before you resubmit it. Don't just try it for the sake of trying. I know a few PhDs, they lodge multiple EOIs, denied multiple times, and that put them into really disadvantage because the department believe you are not serious. Okay, every time you submit exactly the same thing with the same EOI, and how on earth you submit the same material expecting different decision. You should also consult an immigration expert to really understand your profile, because immigration expert, they actually have access to all database. You only have access to your own self, right? You want a third party professional to look at full file and break down to see what's the weakness and what's the strength. Is there a possibility to make your profile stronger? The ultimate goal is to get invitation. The ultimate goal to get Australian permanent visa fast. And this is our strategy to help a lot of candidates achieve this great outcome. I hope this one help you. Alright, if you have any questions, leave a comment below or subscribe don't forget to subscribe our channel, because policy is ever changing and we constantly update new information in our channel. Thank you. Bye bye.